Margaret. There was a moment I always remember when Margaret and I first met at a party at my house. We had many parties at my house. She was sitting on the windowsill, dangling her legs at me. She smiled and her bright eyes sparkled, and I was hooked. She went overseas, travelling around Europe soon after with Margaret, and soon after, and when they returned, she was teaching at the Grange at Minto, with Elsa, I believe. Most weekends, as Eric said, she drove up in her Tirana, as it was, on a Friday night to Singleton for drinks at the Criterion pub. And when I got to know her, I challenged her to go bushwalking in the Wallamai National Park wilderness. It was the first time she'd done that type of rough, off-the-track hiking and camping in caves or under the stars, and she enjoyed it immensely. We laughed when Ailsa reminded us recently how Mark used to come back to school on Mondays looking the worse for wear, all scratched and sunburned. It didn't stop her though, she came back. When I was transferred from Singleton to Wollongong in 1983, it wasn't long when in November we decided to get married in January 1984. Although I'd been several times to Wollongong, this apparent sudden decision, which seemed so right for us, caused some consternation and her parents, but Margaret was unfazed. We arranged the wedding ourselves. We chose the date so her friends would be back from school, back from their trips at the end of the school holidays. At Glenfer Bray, we were able to organise the ceremony, music and food ourselves. In typical style, no fuss, Margaret went to town one Saturday morning and bought her beautiful knee-length wedding dress off the... She took probably a little bit longer to choose her shoes. She was very particular about her shoes. After the wedding, we danced the night away at Belmondo's at Novotel until 2 a.m. And then after our first night there, we had 2 nights honeymoon in the Marlin pub at Ulladulla. It was Mark's choice because she liked that pub. I didn't know it at all. And being the end of the school holidays, she couldn't get more time off. We had a great capacity to enjoy the simple things in life and to make decisions easily together. Mark was patient with me, and I learned early that while she was often compliant, she was strong-willed and practical. She was always willing to give it a go, and it didn't take much to keep us happy. We both loved to travel, as we each had done while single, and we never grew tired of reliving our backpacker days right through our 60s. I once read out an article to her in the Sydney Morning Herald about tight-ass globetrotters who never travelled first class. I said, this is us. For us, backpacking and economy travel was a choice, rewarded by the occasional splurge. We chose train travel if we could, and avoided first-class carriages because she met more interesting people in second class. I have to thank our good friend Dave Martin for just last week giving me the right word to describe Margaret. Hard to believe I've known her so long and I didn't even know how to pronounce equanimous. It means even-tempered. We have to look it up. Peaceful, imperturbable, placid, tranquil, and well-balanced and unexcitable. Marg's demeanour and character was for years something intangible, but equanimity comes closest. Her smiling, quiet confidence made her many friends. She was an innovative and composed teacher, even getting an award at Berkeley West School from her fellow teachers as the most casual. Perhaps at times she was too tolerant and easygoing, but always flexible, willing to give her best and to give wise counsel. She chose friends carefully, and her unflappable, trusting ways will be truly missed. That's not to say she didn't hold strong opinions, but she expressed her views quietly and firmly, and when she did, people generally took notice, particularly if her hands were on her hips. You have to watch that finger too. 1987, when Jane came into our lives, Mark loved every aspect of motherhood, and we formed a whole circle of new friends with children born at the same time who became a big part of our lives. Jane was fortunate to have Mark's firm guidance growing up, but she was never a helicopter parent. Mark loved being a grandmother too when the boys were born. A mother, I know Jane will miss her mum dearly. Words cannot say more. A mother is irreplaceable, but I will always try to be there for her and Albie and Oscar. Always generous with her time, she worked as a roster monster, as Eric said, organising the Sandon Point Community Picket 24/7 at the end of our street for nearly 6 years. Filling in roster sheets, keeping picketers fed and their clothes washed, and all the odd jobs to keep the picket going. She loved to help cooking and organising fundraisers. She later volunteered, helping multicultural communities and for revegetation working parties in the Kosciuszko National Park with the Royal Ski Club and at 4 Mile Hut with the Nordic Ski Club. She also made time to relax all the time, and she loved reading. She would read 4 or 5 books at a time. But if the lawn needed mowing, she was out there before me. Tai Chi, yoga, gym classes and social tennis, cycling, walking everywhere. From here to Coaldale, it's nothing for her. Kept her strong and ready for another active holiday in the mountains of Nepal, Africa, Cuba, Greece, Patagonia and many other places. Our life always included travel, and she really enjoyed going to different out-of-the-way places like Macau, Tibet. She loved Zanzibar, even the sound of it, and Kathmandu, for instance. Never lazy holidays at a beach resort. We enjoyed planning and preparing our holidays, followed by reliving the memories with our photo books. It was about experiencing foreign languages, culture, food, and meeting interesting people and other adventures. The freedom that came with the slow pace of walking 6 weeks along the whole length of the Camino to Santiago was a really special experience. I had suggested we do some parts on bicycle, but Marg insisted, so we walked the whole way, carrying only a day pack each. No mobile phones, no booking ahead, no taxis, just trusting in each other each day. That Camino holiday gave her the courage to suggest we cycle on our own 2,500 kilometres from France to Budapest a few years later. She was a great companion, and though after some memorable disastrous shortcut experiences, we promised each other no more shortcuts. We rarely had any trouble making decisions together, either at home or on holidays. She didn't often insist on much, and when she did, I knew it was important. Our connection was strong, and the trust we had in each other was complete and unshakable. I loved caring for her, and it didn't take much to keep her happy. As long as I buttered the toast to the edges and didn't spread Vegemite too thickly. Each morning, and after I got her out of bed and into the wheelchair, she would carefully choose her clothes. Very particular about that. Had to be the right trousers and the right top. It never became a chore being her carer, even when her needs increased and it became quite difficult. We worked together to keep her at home. The assistance we got in the last 3 months from the community palliative care team and our close friends made this possible. She was strong and uncomplaining to the end. Although she lost most of her independence, she accepted the situation and made the best of every day, enjoying the company of her many friends and especially our 2 grandchildren, Albie and Oscar. It was tough for Mark to accept that she could no longer play with them or take them to the beach, but they seemed to understand. Jane and Tim involved the boys in the farewell at tender funerals last week. And even though the kids were so young, their memories will fade, the recordings of them placing photos and flowers from our garden will help them remember what a loving grandmother they had. It's a cliche to say life too short, but a life well lived. But it's true. Mark's life was full and action-packed. Too short, but with no regrets. We always tried to make the best of it. This huge gathering today is testimony to the respect for her and the loving friendships that she formed. Thank you all, and please enjoy sharing your memories this afternoon.
Thank you, Ross, for that beautiful tribute. I'm now going to call upon Bert, who has a tribute of his own, in a form called his own.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, this is Les Margaret was good. It's something I made up myself. Yeah, one night I couldn't sleep and a lot of words go in my head and this is what came out. There's 8 verses in the poem. First 6 are Margaret's verses, Margaret's voice. Not her words, my words, but it's in her voice. Last 2 are mine. Letting you know that the first 6 verses you guys are going to contribute. Last line, and I want you to yell out, I'm a 60s kind of girl. So we're going to do a bit of a rehearsal. I'm going to count to 3 and you're all going to yell out, I'm a 60s kind of girl. 1, 2, 3.
I'm a 60s kind of girl.
That's okay. Just a little bit louder. It's like you're on the picket. The politicians just turned up. Now I'm going to give you a sign when you need to yell this out. So I'll probably raise my hands and toes.